Hey guys, I'm talking about the nature versus nurture. I'm going to pick the side of nature. I believe our genes and our DNA have a predominant effect on our intelligence over nurture. I do feel like nurture has a lot to do with the makeup of us, but the DNA and the genetic components in our brain activity and intelligence, I think that kind of outweighs the nurture aspect. But I do believe that whether you are born into whichever environment that truly does affect your development and your growth, especially at a young age. It's very important to meet those milestones. um, but I do believe that nature is kind of overrides that, mainly because looking back at the brain and studying the brain through my undergrad, and then also just going over it in chapter two, 1/3 of our genes in the human body are actively major in the brain. And so that tells me that a lot of my strengths and a lot of my weaknesses are probably genetic. And that is true in my own life. And I've seen it in others' lives. But like, I have strengths and I have weaknesses similar to my parents, similar to my grandparents, similar to my sisters. We more so lean towards the side of math and science, and that's consistent throughout. Not saying that that is the primary reason, but for my own experience, that is reason. And so I was looking at an article by Nicole Plumridge, and it's called The Intelligence Debate, Nature versus Nurture, talking about intelligence. And so he claims that intelligence was inherited and that this was supported by the fact that eminence runs in families. He argues that there are genetic differences in intelligence and that this is not something to be feared, merely understood. And talks about the twin study, but he basically studied and he was one of the first scientists to kind of study intelligence and what the differences between kind of human development and where that intelligence came into play. And so that I'm going to leave that here on the bottom for additional reading. But I also came across, I was an athlete in college, and it's very interesting to me, this topic, because it's so obvious to me when it pertains to athletics, but it also kind of helps my case here. So, an article said it is widely accepted that superior performers are endowed with a high genetic potential actualized through hard and prodigious effort. So, basically, that's saying is that genetics and DNA outweighs it all. But yes, there is a huge impact in hard work and effort that you give, as as much as your environment and where you come from and where you're growing up and your development. So I definitely think that nature and that nurture kind of plays hand in hand. But I'm going to say that nature definitely overrides that. But thank you very much, and I hope to talk to y'all soon.